Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. Welcome back to our Sunday live stream. We broke out the big guns for you. I'm lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Pleased to be joined by the man, the myth, the legend himself, Bobby Burton, and the estimable Jerry Hamilton as well. We got a lot to get into on the show. We'll, of course, talk lots of Texas spring football news, notes, and nuggets. What's up, CB? What's up to everybody joining us from all over Longhorn Nation? We appreciate all you guys for joining us. We'll also get to the latest 2027 commitment for Longhorns. 2027. All right, way out there in front. We'll talk about that as well and get the guys' thoughts there. We'll also got to give some props to some of the other sports that are representing on the 40 acres. Texas men's golf, they won team title at the Haskins Award Invitational. As a matter of fact, that's I believe their fourth team title during this spring season. Shout out to Texas baseball, caps a sweep. That's right, broke out the brooms on number 3 Georgia with an extra innings walk-off home run, so did it in dramatic fashion. Texas softball, they took the doubleheader to sweep the series at Mizzou. Texas women's tennis broke out the brooms. Man, a lot of breaking out the brooms, a lot of sweeps going on of Mississippi State as well. I'm sure I'm missing some, guys. Always when I'm trying to give these in recaps, probably missing a few.
CDC has bruises from pounding his chest all weekend.
Yeah, that would be patting himself on the back. Maybe his back is a little sore. Patting himself on the back a little bit. But congrats to all the sports as well. Also, got to say congrats, even though obviously Longhorn fans are a bit disappointed. Texas women's basketball, I mean, listen, that's still a hell of a season they had, but we do have a champion in women's basketball, and that is an undeniable champion in UConn. The way they put an Old Testament style butt whipping on South Carolina, they're on a different stratosphere right now than the rest of college basketball. At least you know exactly what you got to do.
Imagine having to own a 6,000 square foot house just to put your national championship trophies in when you got. I got to get a bigger house. I have 12 national championship trophies and everything else. I mean, like, you got to have a 2,000 square foot living room.
Yeah.
Ariama has been helped. Yes, he's a great coach, but he's been helped by some great players now. Some of the seminal players in the sport. Paige Buckers, I thought she was terrific. I mean, they've got young girls, young women on that team.
What makes him so great, Bobby? He is an elite talent evaluator and putting it together on a roster. And like watching them this year, and like early in the year, they weren't as good because they had so many injuries. I think they might have won the last 2 years if they had stayed healthy too. But then they brought in Strong, the freshman, who's awesome. But early in the season, it wasn't meshing as well. They had some losses that probably they shouldn't have taken in close games. But in the tournament, they look like Golden State. The way they spaced the floor, had shooters at multiple spots, and that opened up cuts from every angle in the court. That offensively, that's the closest thing to Golden State I've seen on a basketball court in a few years. That it was not hat tip. I mean, it was really fun to watch them play.
I don't know about you, but I watched the Cougars game last night against Duke. I thought Duke executed as well as you could offensively for about 36 minutes or 35 minutes, and then just laid a big fat egg.
That was a massive choke job.
Massive. It was a massive. And look, they went to the line to shoot 1-1 and up by 1, and they get a foul. Yeah. I mean, I will say this. I think Proctor, the Duke guard, he didn't hit an open shot all night. Wasn't ideal from the line. But I don't know what to say. Kelvin Sampson, I will say this. That's the largest comeback ever in Final Four history.
Crazy. 14
points and won the game. Congrats to the University of Houston, because that team, I will say this, you can say that Duke choked and all that stuff. U of H's guys got after its butt, and they won every loose ball just about. They went for every rebound, and I thought were just more physical team. I think they're going to beat Florida pretty handily.
I think what's always interesting about sports is there's never been a team that doesn't have a big comeback, that doesn't do a lot of things well and play really hard, right? And so but Duke absolutely choked that game. Look, I mean, there's no other way around it. It was amazing, and this one's going to this one will haunt Shire for a long time if he doesn't get it done soon at Duke, because that's the best. And I know Duke has very talented players, the Boozers coming in, but they aren't even close to Cooper Flagg. He probably just coached the best player he ever will in his career. I mean, maybe somebody comes close, but I'm not sure anybody's be better than that guy was. And I just, from a basketball standpoint, sometimes it baffles me, man. These guys make it too hard on themselves. And I know it's easy to sit here from the chair and say that, but Emmanuel Sharp guarding him was 6'3" on the inbounds plays. Clear the hell out and throw it to the outside hand by the out of bounds line. He has to play through him to make a play on the ball. He's going to foul him. And if he doesn't foul him, he's going to take him out of position trying to foul him. These guys overcomplicate this shit too much, man. Yeah, Cooper Flagg was 6'10" and had a 6'3" guy on him. Throw it to his top hand, clear everybody else out. What are you doing throwing it to him in the middle of the court? Man, post the guy up over here and throw him the damn ball. So you have to live with that, Shire. You have to live with that one, dude. That's on you.
I will say this about that game that I thought was interesting. I thought they had their most athletic player inbounding the ball, the guy that could actually get open in the backcourt. Meanwhile, I mean, Todd Kadipple is a really good basketball player. He's not a guy that's going to make you miss in tight space and try to inbound the ball to. Like, why didn't they have their quicker player trying to get the ball? Anyways, I don't want to talk too much about that. One of the good news things, Rodney, that you mentioned, Longhorns sweeping Georgia. That's number 3 ranked Georgia, by the way.
Yeah.
Texas won all 3 games this weekend, including today. Rod, you mentioned a extra innings bomb, walk-off home run by the Longhorns. It is, look, we can say what we want, but Jim Schlossnagel's got those guys playing really, really good baseball right now. It's possible they go up as high as number 2 in the country in the next ratings that come out tomorrow. And I would add this, Jerry's not going to like it, but A&M may finally have gotten right. A&M won the series against number 1 Tennessee this weekend.
Wow.
They took 2 of 3. They took a doubleheader from Tennessee last night. I think last night's game was 16-7, by the way. Yeah. They their bats may have finally caught fire in Aggie land. They're only 3-9 in conference. They're 3-9 in conference.
Yeah. Early question by Greg. He wants to know, where will baseball be rated tomorrow? As Bobby just said, could be rated as high as 2. After their showing. We shall see. Yeah, I had some Texas baseball fans feeling really good. Somebody asked me the other day, so who's going to win the national title first, Sark or Schloss? And I was like, well, I don't know, but
you always have to bet on baseball traditionally at Texas, right? You have to bet on baseball.
Yeah. I'd be happy either way. No, I'd be happy for baseball if it's baseball. It should. Hey, I'd be happy for that. That'd be fantastic. That'd be a hell of a story, though. That'd be a first year winning a national title. That'd be fantastic. We got a super chat here, and a hell of a super chat from Eddie. Eddie, thank you for the super chat. Boom! How about that one? Oh, Eddie, I might have to go grab the helmet later on for this one, man. Thanks for all the info. People tell me I know more about Longhorn football than anyone they know. I say it's because the guys on OTF, on all guys on campus who will be the highest draft pick. I say Arch or Simmons. Thank you very much. We appreciate it, Eddie. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the super chat. Very, very kind of you. But yeah, so who do you think will be the highest draft pick? That's of all the guys that are currently on the roster right now, Arch or Simmons. I mean, quarterback.
Yeah, it's up to Arch's play. If Arch plays well, it will be him. If Arch doesn't play up to the expectations next couple of years, it may be Simmons, right, Bobby? I mean, it all depends on Arch's performance on the field.
Eddie, you got Rod fired up. He put on the Longhorn helmet.
Thanks, Eddie. I need a reason to put it on. That's a good one.
I think it's Arch, just like y'all do. I mean, and the reason I go there, Eddie, and everyone else, is it is because of the quarterback position. And look, I mean, if a elite quarterback is elite, he's going number 1 or number 2.
Yep.
Right. Cam Ward, you can't tell me that if Arch Manning was coming out right now and he had a year. I could be wrong, but I just think it's going to be Arch, and I think he's got a chance to go 1-1, or he'll be second, third pick of the draft at lowest, as long as he's healthy, has a good season.
Let me read off the names, because somebody actually threw out this 2027 mock draft, and I'm not going to read the order because the order doesn't mean anything now, but just think about the names that are going to be in the 2027 NFL draft. Jeremiah Smith, Dylan Stewart, Ryan Williams, Colin Simmons, Arch Manning, DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola. I mean, the list goes on and on. Jordan Seaton, the freshman tackle at Colorado, is a big-time guy. That draft is going to be absolutely loaded. Lenoris Sellers, I mean, that is one loaded draft. So it's really going to come down to, quarterback, because there's guys in this draft that are elite players, elite at other positions. Quarterback's going to have to bring it on the field.
You can just Google tank for Arch. I'm not even you can just Google tank for Arch Manning, and there are like 4 teams come up: the Cowboys, the Browns, the Jets. There are already fan bases talking about tanking for Arch Manning. Dude haven't even started the entire season yet. Pro Football Focus actually did a quarterback ranking, even including this draft class, and they basically are ranking the quarterbacks regardless of classification or eligibility. And they say that Arch Manning would be the top quarterback. Now, like I said, take that with a grain of salt, whatever. If you like Pro Football Focus, they just could be trying to get clicks. But there's already people having this conversation about Arch Manning being the top quarterback taken. And if he comes even close to living up to the expectations we have for him, he'll be the number 1 pick.
Let's think about where it's at for him. In high school, everybody had him ranked number 1. Then people started to tear him down, and some people didn't have him ranked 1. Now he flashed, and now he's finally going to be a starter. So everybody's going to start building him up, right? Mm-hmm. And what happens if he doesn't play great against Ohio State? They're going to tear him down immediately. So it's going to be both interesting to follow and going to be frustrating, I think, for some Texas fans, because he's the only high school prospect I've ever seen that got torn down as a senior. It was like a pro athlete treatment with him, and now it's happening again already in college. They're building him up, and they built him up so high. There's only one place for him to go unless he plays amazing. They're going to start to tear him down. And then his second year, they'll build him up again. It's going to be fascinating to kind of watch the coverage of all of it, because it's going to be this type of road for everybody to build up the tear down.
I love the developmental track that he's been on, though. You just can't beat it, right? Sitting for 2 years, getting to gradually start, your 3-4 games a player. And so the team, everybody knows his work ethic. He's now a leader on that team. He's already established a trust with the guys. He knows the system. I mean, it's his 3rd year in the system. I just, I feel like a lot of the pitfalls and growing pains, he's going to have some, by the way. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to have them. I just feel like they won't be as drastic as some of the quarterbacks we've seen, even for, a young Sam Miller. Remember how drastic those growing pains were? Oh, man, they were brutal to watch, some of those learning curves from him. Same thing with Quinn. I was looking back. I went back and watched some old Quinn from 23 and 22. I mean, anybody remember that Oklahoma State game and how bad that was? I mean, he just did not have – could not discern or make any real good decisions with the football. And he grew a lot from that game, by the way. I don't think the learning curve and I don't think the growing pains will be as drastic or as extreme for Arch Manning. He'll have them. There's no question. Even his own people, his own dad said, oh, no, we expect to see the growing pains. We want to see how he responds to adversity. I think because of his background, because of the pedigree, because of the developmental track of sitting for 2 years, I don't think we'll get the extremes in the growing pains. But I could be wrong about that. We'll see.
I think there's two things combined to one for him. And this is going to tell his story of how quickly he will truly ascend on the field. And it's true of any quarterback that likes to throw the ball down the field a lot. Deep late and late middle.
Oh, yeah, it can be. Yeah, good point.
Once he gets, and he'll have some of that. He showed a little bit of that in early starts. He's going to have some of that because he's aggressive throwing the ball down the field, and Sark's going to be aggressive calling the scheming down the field. But that's going to be, I think, the whole key for Arch Manning is deep, late, middle. And he's going to force some balls because that's who he is. How soon does he kind of wean off of that? Is how quickly he's going to send, I think, to a next level as a quarterback. And you just don't know for those guys who are really kind of gunslinger, aggressive guys down the field, how long it takes. Garrett Nussmeier got into issues with it as his first year starting at LSU.
Yep.
Because those guys that really like that, they'll throw it deep late and they'll throw it late middle. And you have to have some failures in that area to then see the success.
Yeah, all about anticipatory, right? How can you anticipate that guy? Throw that guy open. Don't throw to the open guy because that means you're probably a little bit too late. Good point there. All right, good. And thank you for the super chat there, Eddie. We really appreciate it. Very, very kind of you. All right, let's thank our sponsor of our Sunday night live stream before we move on to some other topics and your questions as well. So throw them out there. Thank you to our friends over at Rogue Shop. That's right, folks. RogueShop.com, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Make sure to use that promo code. You see it right there on your screen on Texas. Use that very special promo code and you'll get a very special discount from our friends over at Rogue Shop, RogueShop.com. They have it all, folks, from oils and creams to flour and gummies and vitamins as well. Again, that's RogueShop.com. And they also ship nationwide, no matter where you are in the Longhorn Nation, all across this great country of ours. Our friends over at RogueShop.com can get their fabulous products to you no matter where you are. So if you're dealing with anxiety, maybe it's sleep deprivation, you can't get to sleep, maybe it's just aches and pains from battling Father Time and losing that battle, by the way, like all of us are. Our friends at Rogue Shop have a variety of different items to help you deal with all your ailments. Actually, matter of fact, a member of the On Texas Football family, they actually told me personally that they were having some sleep issues, couldn't get a good night's sleep. They tried some of the items at Rogue Shop and now they sleep like a baby thanks to our friends over at Rogue Shop. So it may do the same for you as well. Check them out. That's RogueShop.com, RogueShop. That's RogueShop.com. Use the discount code on Texas and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends at RogueShop.com. All right. Just before we get back to some football guys and some of the other questions, Texas basketball, getting Texas men's basketball, all right, getting a lot of good news lately. Seems like Sean Miller with the staff, obviously still a work in progress, bringing some of the staff back as well. He's starting to get some of the guys from last year's team to now decide they want to invest and be invested in this Sean Miller program, Kendall Weaver being the latest.
Yeah, so I think we have a graphic that shows kind of the current roster right now. The one thing I would say is, what have we seen? This is good. This is a good sign for Texas fans with Sean Miller and the way he's presenting his program and the vision of his program to the guys that have returned to Texas. How many, Bobby, we were talking about Indiana had 0 players a week ago. All these kids, when there's a coaching change, boom, they jump in the portal, either to follow the coach that left or just grass is going to be greener. But one of the things that Sean Miller's done, he's got a lot of buy-in from some guys that were open and actually wanted to come back. So look, and what I've said, we've had a great discussion on TexasFootball.com message board on our Texas basketball thread about this. Is what's interesting to me is what's he going to be able to bring out of, because Kendall Weaver was the latest. I'm going to get to Camden Hyde in a second because I actually really like him as a player, the second portal pickup. But what's interesting to me from a basketball perspective is this, and then I'll go after Paul. I got your question in a second at the end of this on what's left, is I said this on the thread. Sean Miller and his staff probably watched 8 to 10 games of Texas in preparation for the play-in game. They aren't keeping guys they don't like, 1, and don't think they can get more out of, 2, and develop further. I mean, so if Texas brings somebody back, they think they're going to help that guy be a better player, because if they didn't think he was a good player, they wouldn't try to keep him.
Yeah.
It's not just about, got to save money here. Yeah, I mean, look, Ryan Conwell reportedly got $2.6 million from Louisville. You aren't gonna be in that deal, right? I mean, there's a certain point where you're not going to do that for a 1-year player. And then the high school kid who I love, Matt Abel, is asking for what I heard, twice what Trey Johnson was. You're probably not going to do that. But I think Sean Miller's got a lot of buy-in from guys who are open to returning. And the Camden Hyde pickup out of Purdue, I think he'll play offensively. It's year 3 for him too. So he's going to show more in years 3 and 4. He'll probably end up being a 9-10 point game guy and 5 rebounds, right? As a key role player. He's athletic and can shoot it. He's kind of a catch and shoot guy. But what's left in the portal is 2 bigs, I think. Lucina Traore went in the portal from Xavier, who he missed all season, and is why Xavier wasn't as good of a team. He missed all season with a knee injury. And like I've said, if they take him out of the portal, then they're obviously confident in what they saw with his rehab and the player that they saw early on before he hurt his knee, got hurt right before the season. And I heard he was doing really well. And then they're in they're fighting for the big 7-foot, going to be sophomore center out of FAU that went in the portal, who averaged like 10.5 and 5.5. Kentucky and some others are in there. But if they get a couple more bigs, then they have 2 more spots left over after that, which would go to I think a bigger guard who can shoot the basketball. And then that 4th scholarship spot, we'll have to see. I think they'll be very patient with that spot. It could be an international kid that develops. It could be a best player available. They kind of look at things after everything else is put together. It could be somebody that maybe helps them for a year at a position or in a role. But I think the baseline of this roster right now is pretty good. And if you add a couple of the key bigs they want to, then you have a quality roster headed into next year. I think the key with that always is when a new coach comes in, especially this much of a drastic of a change, I think, what can Sean Miller pull out of these guys? Does Tremont Mark go back to being a 15-point per game guy in his system versus the Texas system? Does Jordan Pope look more like the 14, 15-point per game guy in Oregon's wide open spread system where there was more ball movement, player movement versus Texas isolation basketball? I think he's looking at those guys thinking there's a lot I can pull out of these guys because they scouted them thoroughly before the game. It's not like they're guessing on these guys. They've watched this team probably more than anybody else because they prepped for them.
Yeah. No, good stuff there, Jerry. Nice info. And let's get back. This is actually important. Jenny Wifey says here, Bobby's making me wait for him to watch White Lotus, so no spoilers, please. I also am waiting to watch the finale of White Lotus. No spoilers in the chat, please. And my wife made her special chili tonight. All right, White Lotus. So it is going down in this household as well. White Lotus. Thank you very much, Jay. We appreciate that. Thank you. Great message. Great message. Cisco here says, "Hey, when will we get Sims on Texas football? He had a great interview with Sark earlier this week." Thank you for the super chat, Cisco. I will send the text. I actually did because Bobby and I actually were talking about this earlier this offseason. We discussed a little bit, and I had made some preliminary inquiries, all right, into it. I will send another text, and we'll try to get that done. I'm working on it, all right? I'll put it that way. I'm working on it. We're trying to work on getting Sims back, period, but I work on getting him on Texas football. He's a media guy now. He's got no excuse. Now you're a member of the media. You know,
yes, that's exactly right. Yeah. You're right. Leverage that, Rod.
Yeah, so like, hey, man, you're the media. All right, so you gotta, I got two cards I could play, the friendship card and the media card. So I figured I'd get him with one of them. There you go.
Hey, I want to say this, by the way, 2 really different style of interviews from 2 former Texas quarterbacks with Steve Sarkisian in the last
week.
Yeah.
Good point.
Not only did Chris Sims have him on, Chris had him on for Coach Sark about 30 minutes or so, really pointed a lot towards the draft at the end of that interview where he's talking about Matthew Golden and Kelvin Banks and guys like that. But also Colt McCoy interviewed Sark last week on his podcast. So if y'all watch those things and like that, look it up. Chris Sims with Steve Sarkisian and Colt McCoy with Steve Sarkisian. I thought both of them did a really nice job with the head coach at the University of Texas in different ways, by the way.
Yep. And shout out to Sark and shout out to John Bianca, because I know Bianca's behind the scenes, hooking it up as kind of the middleman there. But I'm glad that Sark is showing love. All right, to the lifetime Longhorns. That's what's important, guys. Wasn't always the case where all the Texas coaches were showing love. Like Matt kind of put the foundation. It was going to be a family, and you could always come back. you know, Sark is big on that. Like he wants the guys coming back. Every time I go there, I see, you know, new. Oh yeah, you're right, CB. And congrats to Sark on being a new dad. Congrats to him. That news broke over the weekend as well. L'Oreal put that out there via social media. So congrats to him.
Rod, so Tom Herman never invited y'all all into the office so y'all could double Rod LHN at the same time, or what?
Yeah, no, I will say this: like Tom Herman never like rejected me. Now I have heard stories of other players like, hey, didn't have the access they once did. Because I remember the media and also a former player, I know I got to walk I got to walk the line. It's a bit of a balance to it, you know what I mean? But some guys, they have complained that they didn't have the access that they once did under Tom Herman. And so from what I hear about Sark, that has never been a question. Like old guys who have come back to visit and the guys who are constantly around the program more consistently, they all have talked about how it's a very welcoming atmosphere. Yeah. So Sark's really, really big on that. And I want to congratulate him on that too. It's a better program when the old heads are around. All right. Getting back to do the question. Oh, you know what? I got a question for you guys. Because matter of fact, we'll hit the Taven Epps thing here. I think it's a good question from Paul here about Taven Epps, because we were talking about this earlier, Bobby. Taven Epps is going to reclassify, correct? Is he one of those guys? Because it seems like everybody who's a top player reclassifies. Is he one of those guys? Or are we talking about a true 2027 prospect?
He's a 2027 until he's not. I would say that. I don't think it's a guarantee he does. I would say it's a possibility. And there was another question on Taven Epps about Isaiah Simmons. I don't see that. I don't think Bobby sees that. I think Taven Epps, the question for him is he going to be 6'4", 6'5", 240, or is he going to be 6'5", 260 one day?
Legit height at 6'4" and a quarter, 225.
Yeah, and I saw him on his unofficial visit last weekend. He was riding around the golf cart. I saw him get off the golf cart, and he's all a 6'4". I mean, he's all 6'4". So, and with that frame size and the legs, you can tell he's going to be big, thick through the legs once he gets to a college strength and conditioning program. Yeah. His biggest thing is going to be staying around 230.
He's going to be a hybrid, but not an Isaiah Simmons hybrid. He's going to be a hybrid in the front, like a edge outside linebacker kind of hybrid, not a safety linebacker hybrid. Yeah.
So I agree with you. The comparison I immediately had for him, and I'll tell you why, is Anthony Hill. And it's because I think he can play middle or edge eventually, right? Yeah. Not right now, not big enough yet, but he's also only a sophomore in high school, going to be a junior. But you see that, Phil, he's very physical. But y'all are going to watch, as you go through these highlights, guys, you're going to watch him run the ball here in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay? When you watch him run, it's like a reverse on a point after touchdown play, right? A 2-point conversion. You'll watch him run the ball and you go, oh, he's that kind of guy where he can be physical and fast and has a little bit of a nose for the game. You know what I mean? He has some cheat code in him, if that makes sense. Like he can kind of figure things out on the fly. He can make mistakes and then rectify them.
Yeah.
And that's the sign of a special athlete that's still learning the game, I think is the bigger piece. But I really liked him. He's out of Tustin, California, and I said that was down near San Diego in the earlier video today. It's actually in Orange County near Irvine. I actually went, this is a true story. I've been to Tustin High School almost 30 years ago now.
For who?
For Deshaun Foster.
Oh, wow.
The former running back that is now the head coach at UCLA. I went and saw Deshaun. This is the run, by the way, Jerry. Y'all watch this run here. 6'4.5", guys.
Damn, was
burnt. Here's my question, Bobby.
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah, it's
Bobby, that ain't right now.
Yeah. Bobby, I think you saw the guy in high school, Dante Hightower.
I did. Dante was a little bit more bottom heavy.
Yeah, played running back too, right? He played.
Yeah. He did. He's down in Columbia, Tennessee. But I don't know if he's as thick as Dante was down on his trunk, but I haven't seen this guy in person either.
Yeah,
I just think my take on it is he's a really, really high level athlete. The other question that Rod and Jerry I wanted to get with, because I was talking to CJ about this on his commitment video. This is the first commitment in the class of 2027. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about commitments Texas has gotten early over the last several years.
Okay.
The first commitment year in the 2025 class
in quarterback
was Mobile, Alabama. First commitment, or close to the first commitment in the 26 class, was Diabell out of South Florida. First commitment in 2027 class is now out of Southern California. How national is Texas recruiting, and the brand is actually playing? Like, it's one thing to get an early commitment from Chris Stewart, for example, out of Pearland Shadow Creek. Well, that's an endemic play. I mean, you're going to be in on a guy in Pearland if you want him, right?
Yep.
Most likely. This is a guy out of Tustin, California, Orange County, that I think it's starting to show what Texas can be under Sark a little bit more with national recruiting. He's a top 10, by the way, he's a top 10 player in the state of California for his year. He's according to 24/7 Sports Composite, so take that for what it's worth. He's a top handful of 3 or 4 linebacker in the country as well. So this isn't just a guy they got, right? This is an elite player in 2027.
It's because I had somebody, because I was watching him a little bit of a film, and he's really impressive. Like, I'm with you. I don't know what he's going to grow into. Does he remind you of a Jihad Campbell? Did you guys see him earlier?
I did. Yeah, I did. Look,
some of that in him.
Well, Jihad Campbell, in that recruiting class, I actually thought I would have ranked him #1 overall. And here's why in the country in that class. I was part of national rankings then. Here's why. I saw that guy run 4.48 at the IMG in high school.
What?
He also intercepted a screen pass in an Under Armour practice and ran it like 88 yards for a touchdown, and nobody caught him. I don't know. I need to look at what he tested at, but I'm pretty sure, didn't he run right at 4.5 at
he was really impressive. I'll get it for you.
Jihad Campbell had as much explosive speed.
4.52. He ran a 4.52 at the combine.
Yeah. So there you go. At 235, he had as much explosive speed at a 225-ish pound kid coming out of high school as I've seen in a while. That dude could absolutely roll. And he was because Jeff Blake was the quarterback's coach at IMG, and he also worked the Under Armour camp, so as ESPN Under Armour.
Oh, yeah.
Known Jeff a long time. And Jeff said he was as good in coverage, like just as any linebacker they'd had at IMG, that he had seen at IMG. That kid's really talented. I don't know where he's going in the draft, but, man, it's going to be first round somewhere.
Man, yeah, I had somebody made that comparison. I was like, actually, that's a pretty damn good one, potentially. All right, let's get to some more of the questions here. Thank you guys for all the questions. We appreciate it. How about this one from Griff? He says, who's the defensive player on the current team that goes higher? Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons, or someone else? Oh, it's hard. That's a good one, man, because Anthony – can I just say it depends on Anthony Hill's year this upcoming season? If he gets double-digit sacks, that kind of changes the conversation he's in. But linebacker, I don't know why, is not considered a premium position. They don't really draft him high. But if you're a pass rushing linebacker, it may up your value. But right now, Colin Simmons is probably more on the track to be that guy because edge rusher is considered one of the premiums.
I mean, look, Colin Simmons, I think, is that guy. And I think Anthony Hill's a tremendous player. I wonder if a couple of these young freshman defensive linemen even end up being higher.
Wow.
Oh, like an edge rusher? Like what he's
just those combo guys, like a Justice Terry, a Lance
Jackson. Yeah. The body, you can't teach that, man. You can't teach that frame.
Those guys have productive college careers. They're both going to be drafted in the first round pretty high. I mean, look at Mykel Williams. Mykel Williams is going first round. He wasn't even necessarily a productive player. If you're a Texas fan, you think he was. But if you look at his overall, he really wasn't that productive of a player in college.
No, you're right.
And that guy's going mid-first round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I saw somebody posted a video and said, "Why is Jalen Walker going in the first round? He doesn't belong in the first round." I'm like, what games did you watch when Texas was involved?
He didn't.
I
Period.
was like, I mean, I was like Jerry. I mean, in all seriousness, last year going into this year, this time last year, Michael Williams was the guy at Georgia.
I remember that. Yep.
Everybody thought he was going to be the guy that we needed to watch for and that Texas needed to watch out for. All of a sudden, Jalen Walker showed up on the screen, and I didn't really worry about Michael Williams from then. So I don't know what people are thinking as it relates to that. But
I think Jalen Walker, he was game planned for one. But look, I had somebody that y'all can take a guess. I had somebody I know over there that said if he just played off the edge as a linebacker, he'd be the best pass rusher in America. And that was something. And I think what makes him so good is, you know, we talk about versatility, but Jalen Walker would actually play middle linebacker and make all the calls and make all the right reads.
Mm-hmm.
Then you move him outside. And like he is a dude in football. He is a great player. The stats may not say great player, but I think everything he does is great player.
I just want to put this out there. Okay. How good is it that we're having these kind of discussions?
It is fun. Yeah.
I mean, about where Texas players rank and where they should be drafted. I mean, Sark did a good job. By the way, I watched both the Colt McCoy and the Chris Sims video. He did a really nice job in the Chris Sims video articulating where Texas was when he got to Texas and where Texas is today.
Yeah.
I thought he did a really nice job setting that up and explaining it. He didn't make excuses for it, but said, hey, look, this is a work in progress. And I really liked what he said as it relates to what's next, you know, for Texas. How do we create this ongoing cycle, this vicious cycle of elite players coming to Texas? And look, you mentioned Colin Simmons, you mentioned Anthony Hill, Jerry mentions two other freshmen. I'm sitting there thinking of Ryan Wingo and guys like Arch Manning. I feel that Taven Epps, guys like this that come in. Texas is in a situation right now where I don't know what's going to happen here over the next 5 years, but I'm telling you, it looks really, really good from a recruiting standpoint and where everything's at, so that we can have these kinds of discussions. I mean, because we certainly weren't. We were wondering whether or not they're going to win in 7 or 8 games and fire their coach. 5 years ago. I actually did that for about 10 years in a row, right?
Me too.
Yeah. And to turn around, and here we are, 2025, and things have just changed on a dime. I think it goes to what Sark has done, but also what Texas maybe can provide and be on a national platform when successful.
I just, for instance, on for Justice Terry and Lance Jackson. Mikel Williams is 5-star kid coming out of high school, right? He just hit the NFL Combine, 6'5" and an 8, 260, 34 and 3/8 inch arm length, and 10 and a quarter inch hands. I mean, he is that guy, right? Stat wise on the field, I mean, he did all right. I mean, freshman year, 28 tackles, 4.5 sacks. Sophomore year, he did not have a great year his sophomore year. Now he battled a little injury, battled the ankle sprain his junior year, but he leaves college with, 65 tackles and 14 sacks in 3 years. That's not the production. And my point on that is, if Lance Jackson and or Justice Terry have that type of production with their frames, they're going to go in the first round, and probably midway through the first round, because if you don't have to have great production, you have to have the measurables and show enough, because the NFL's like, oh, we'll get the rest of it out of them.
Yeah.
Those two guys that's what they are. If they just do what Mikel Williams did, and I'm not saying may not have those numbers of freshmen, because Texas is a different place, and Mikel came to Georgia after a lot of those D linemen had just gone to the NFL. But if those guys just put up productive careers at Texas, then they have very similar measurables in that first round pick ability.
Yeah. because in terms of production, Colin Simmons is gonna have a lot more production than that. I mean, he's gonna be there's gonna be a lot more of those splash stats we're talking about there. Let me ask you guys this real quick, since we're talking a lot about Colin Simmons, because I was looking at some like rankings for the 2025 season, position ranking, because Pro Football Focus is doing theirs. And they and this is a great point. I saw it from Max Chadwick. Says since Pro Football Focus began their college football position rankings in 2020, there have been 8 players who've been the top player at their position entering their true sophomore season. So only 8 since 2020 have been ranked as the top player at their position entering their true sophomore year. 3 of them have come this year. Colin Simmons is on that list. Jeremiah Smith is on that list. Leonard Moore is on that list.
Oh, wow.
What was so special about that 2024 class? Was that a special class? Because they're saying it might be a special when you start looking to the draft, because Dylan Stewart's going to be in that group too. I mean, you guys, Ryan Williams, the Bama wide receiver. Like, what was something special was in that class? Or are we just talking about? Was that a pinnacle of, kind of the perfect storm of reclassifying and transfer portal and everything? I mean, what was up with that class? What made it special?
Well, that class had freaks at wide receiver, but Ryan Williams was one of the first big names to reclass.
Okay.
Right? So you had a 5-star top 10 player in America reclass. The receivers are unbelievable. I could see there being 4 first-round receivers out of that crop, maybe 5
at least.
Yeah, Wingo's in it, right? Wingo's in the conversation too, right?
I mean, you got 2 special guys in Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams. You have a bunch of really talented guys right behind it. Cam Coleman at Auburn. If they figure out quarterback, that guy's really talented. There's a couple others, but yeah, I think that was just a great class. Because people ask that all the time. Well, for instance, the D-line class last year nationally was awesome, right? And in the state of Georgia, was off the charts. The nationally in 2026 is not quite as good on D-linemen. Watching all these guys for me. And there's special classes. I think 24 is just a special class that kind of had a few reclasses, but they were so good at every position that thing's going to turn up aces, man. That class is going to turn up aces.
Wow. Yeah.
Bobby, could it be, I think it's a special class, but could it be coming out of COVID? Those kids that were in those COVID classes didn't have as much time.
Yeah.
In track, they missed track seasons. They missed summer workouts with their high school team.
It's interesting.
Could that be part of it with a couple of classes before that?
Yeah.
Potentially, because those young kids missed some important time. And whether track or
I think we see that in this draft class.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. That's not bad, Bobby.
That's those kids. Yeah.
I mean, you got a 2-star quarterback as the number 1 pick in the draft, a 3-star quarterback as the number 2 pick in the draft, or number 2 quarter. I mean, I think that you guys like Xavier Worthy went in the first round, and you never saw him run track even as a high school junior,
right?
Much less, high school senior, because COVID got him, right?
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of that. I do think that there are times. I remember when Julio Jones and AJ Green came out the same year at a high school.
Yeah.
I mean, both of them were like, how do you couldn't print a prettier picture at wide receiver than those two. You know what I mean? It's just, they didn't exist. And so I feel like there are times when you see special players. Like I'll be honest, I think that Arch is one of those guys at quarterback. I think that it's possible DJ Lagway is one of those guys at quarterback. You just don't get that big, that strong arm.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if I were drafting high right now in the NFL draft, I would be trying to get out of the top 5 to 10 picks and trying to load up for years in the future. I know that's not how it works, and I know that's not what an NFL GM is going. Well, what's the real value of a pick next year or 2 years from now? But to y'all's point, I think there's more guys like that could be game changers, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah,
for teams probably next year or the year after.
I think you made a good point about the draft, though. I mean, actually, in terms of the COVID point that Jerry made and how it's affected the draft this year, I totally agree with you. This is a very strange, a very unpredictable draft coming up in terms of the range of where guys are going to be drafted pretty much after that top 5. All right, let's get to Justin Super Chat. Justin, thank you for the Super Chat. Really appreciate it. Justin wants to know, will Sark meet with the media next practice? And who's been y'all's favorite Texas coach to watch or interact with in media sessions? Oh, that's good. Yeah, Sark, he said that he didn't want to take up the limelight. Texas women's basketball and the national title for the men's swimming and diving, which was very honorable of him. He also was a little bit busy because he's a new dad now. So that might have helped a little bit too, Sark. You threw that out there. It's like, so you've been real busy. So what do you guys thought? You think we'll see Sark media availability cancel the last one? Will Sark speak to the media anytime soon? Because right now, I don't know if he will. He's been pretty busy.
Yeah, I think he probably will, but it'd probably be Tuesday if he does it.
Okay.
I don't think he's gonna. I don't think it'll be tomorrow. My favorite coach to interact with actually has been Sark on this staff. Just think I think you ask a legitimate question, you get a legitimate answer. I'm not saying other coaches aren't similar to that. Kyle Flood is very similar to that. You ask him a question, you get an answer. It's not a bunch of coach speak. But I just think Sark's really good with the media. And if you ask a question about the future and his vision of UT football, whether you like what he says or not, he's going to give you his vision, and he doesn't try to explain it and talk down to you when he's
mansplain it to you. Yeah.
And I think that he gets these questions a lot, not just from the local media, but from national media as well. And I think he does a good job of, I really thought he did a good job in those 2 interviews, just articulating that. There's a lot of guys that are probably fun with the media. I think Johnny Nansen would be good. We've only had him, I think, a couple times in media sessions. Jeff Banks is typically good. I'd like to hear more from Chris Jackson, frankly. Haven't maybe heard enough from him because I think I just kind of like his style as a coach. Obviously, Dwayne Akeen, I've known him for a long period of time. He's always good with the media. Just haven't heard much from Kenny Baker yet. I think he's met with the media once or twice in bowl game stuff. So you'll see what all that means.
I'll say this from my personal interactions. Look, there's so many great coaches. I think moving out of football, Vic Schaefer is unbelievable.
Oh yeah, now that
unbelievable. My favorite guy all time, and it doesn't mean he's the best coach. It didn't mean he was my favorite coach. But Rick Barnes is one of the funniest human beings of all time. And if you never had a chance to be around him, I mean, whether it's a media session or not, in the history of guys that have coached at Texas, Rick Barnes was truly remarkable. How funny he was, how much wit he had. And he did it in pressure situations, I think, with media as well as just kind of just around. He was just, that dude has a real personality. It's similar. He's Steve Spurrier without the trash talk is what he is.
Oh, I like that.
That's what makes Spurrier good, though.
Yeah. And storytelling, right? Spurrier was a great storyteller.
Oh, yeah. Rick is an unbelievable storyteller.
Craig Way always said that, Jerry said, man, Rick Barnes is great at telling a story. He just lays it out perfectly. It's almost like he's doing like a comedic bit. He lays it out perfectly. So I agree with you about Vic Schaefer, though. Vic Schaefer, every time I talk to the man, I feel like I've left some type of revival. Nobody gets you pumped up like Vic Schaefer. But what I appreciate about Sark is that Sark is good with the media like Mac was. Mac was a master, right, of media relations, no question about that. But Mac didn't give you a lot. Mac was a master at, talking a lot without giving you a ton. All right. You'd have to kind of decipher and, kind of go through the coach speak and make your way through it to find that nugget from Mac. Sark gives you, I argue Sark sometimes is too forthcoming. He gives you a lot. He gives you, if he's in a really good mood, Sark will just go on and on. And I love that about Sark. I actually before Sark, I'm not gonna lie to you, toward the end of Mac's tenure, through Charlie, through Tom Herman, I didn't watch all the media availabilities. They weren't worth it. It was just coach speak.
Yeah.
It was just coach speak. Yeah, I knew what Charlie was gonna say. I knew you asked me the question, I'd tell you what Charlie Strong's answer would be. Because it was just a lot of coach speak. That's not what Sark. Like Sark, you don't get a ton of coach speak. He gives you a genuine, authentic response. That I appreciate from Sark.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that question. That was a good one there. Appreciate the super chat. Aloha Traveler here with another super chat. Thank you, Aloha Traveler. I think we all wish we were traveling with you wherever you're going. Aloha. Aloha, fellas. What is one aspect of coach recruiting or development that Mac Brown, Strong, and Herman, one each, that is better than what we have in Sark? Ooh, I bring that up because I think what Sark is doing is pretty special. Thank you, Aloha Traveler.
I do too. But look, I mean, I'm always going to be real. Mac Brown is a top 2 recruiter I've ever met in my life. Period. Any sport, anywhere. From a recruiting perspective, where Rod's been through it, he can tell you. I mean, Mac's the top. Him and Bobby Bowden. I mean, you're talking like top 2, 3 guys that just as pure recruiters, whether it's in a house and an in-home, whether it's stopping at a high school, whether it's with the kid. His memory recall is like nothing I've ever seen as a coach.
I'm going to say this. So the thing with Mac that was phenomenal is I would call a recruit that wasn't seriously considering Texas. Okay. He literally would have hung up with the phone for Texas for the first time in, I don't know, 3 months because Texas stopped recruiting him. And the minute he hung up the phone with Mac Brown, I was like, oh, I think I like Texas a lot. It was bizarre. And I thought Mac did a great job with plans for recruits. Okay, how are we really going to recruit this guy? How do we need to recruit him versus this other guy? What is his fit? And he would got into the weeds on that, like deep in the weeds on that kind of stuff. And to Jerry's point, the thing with Mac is he made it look so effortless to do that. I mean, he was working hard behind the scenes on that stuff. He really was.
Yeah.
But it looked effortless and like he could just pull it off with such a plum, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is one aspect of coach or development? I mean, look, no offense to Charlie Strong and Tom Herman. I just don't see anything they've done that I would want to replicate all that much. I mean, as a head coach.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
I mean, how to be a jerk to your players by Tom Herman. Yeah. How to kick off twice to start a half.
Oh,
Charlie Strong. How to get 3 extra points blocked by Charlie Strong in a single game. I mean, good people. And
I'll give Tom Herman one that where he might have on Sark. It just it took me a while to come up with this because they ain't a lot. Tom Bo Herman, man. That man knew how to prepare for a damn
bowl games.
I don't know what it did. I don't know what it just, you know what? I'll tell you what I think it was. Because listen, I always talk about football. Football is a week-to-week exercise, right? You got a certain amount of days to prepare. Even Sark brought this up, actually. He brought up how the NFL was very different from college football playoffs because you had a certain amount of time to prepare in between playoff games in the NFL. And in college, it was very different. All right, everybody had varying different times depending on what your schedule was and if you won the championship or played in the championship, how much time you got to prepare for your next opponent. Tom Herman, I always said Tom Herman was great. Tom Herman was great at bowl games because bowl games aren't real football. That ain't real football, guys. Y'all know it. You got a month to prepare, half the damn time, 3 weeks. You bring your family there. There's no school for the players there. You know what I mean? You got families hanging out there. You got the coaches' wives there. So in this very vacation-like atmosphere, Tom Herman was an amazing coach that probably couldn't be beat. And I don't know what formula he had, but it was really good for those bowl games. But bowl games, guys, that's not real football. Like, that's a different kind of football because you got so long to prepare for it. And I think that for whatever reason favored him. Also, Tom Herman was great at being an underdog. You shouldn't be an underdog very often at Texas. You shouldn't. So CDC said that. But for some reason, this dude, he was able to maximize that mindset, the underdog mindset. So when Texas, even though Texas should never be an underdog, was an underdog, Tom Herman's teams were at their best. So bowl games and underdog situations, Tom Herman was really good at. And I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why. I think from being at U of H, Iowa State, the background of Tom Herman, he was from, Sark in week 2 is like Herman in bowl games. Yes, Sark on that big non-conference game. Whatever that big non-con is, you better watch your blank facing Sark in week 2 or 3 because he's coming for you. He's going to break out all these beautiful gadget plays and the offense is going to look amazing. But just like you said, that's not real football because we know Sark prepared for that game for how long? 2-3 months? Prepared for that Michigan game plan, that Bama game plan. And that's why Sark throughout the year looks a little bit different.
Ohio State right now.
Yeah, it's like, why can't I get the Texas offense the way it looked against Bama and Michigan? Well, because he ain't got 3 months to prepare for it. That's why Quinn don't look the same. And that's Tom Bo Herman in a nutshell.
Hey, Rod, have you ever heard my Albert Hardy story on why he committed to Texas after meeting with Mac Brown? I don't think I've heard this. So his high school coach called me, and they were on the way back from Austin. He said, "I'm just letting you know Albert's going to commit the Texas." And I'm going to miss a little detail in this. We need to get Albert on. He's an OC at Beaumont United. And coach said, "I'm just letting you know he's going to commit to Texas in the next couple of days." And I said, "All right." And I said, "Well, I'm going to, prep story." I said, "Why did he commit? And why did he decide to commit?" He said, "He doesn't know." That's a great recruiter. That's a great recruiter when somebody just commits and the kid. Why? And his high school coach said, "Why? So why'd you decide to commit?" I don't know. That's the best recruiters, man.
He gave up. That means Mac was on him so hard. He gave up. He's like, "Man, I just commit, Mac. I'm sorry."
A little part of that story too is I think it was Michigan and A&M and Texas were the 3, and the coach told me, he said he decimated those schools without saying a negative word about either one. And so Albert was left with no choice. I got to go to Texas. I can't go to He never said a negative word about either school.
That sounds like Mac. Mac didn't like to negatively recruit against other schools. That wasn't his thing. And, I would say this too. Before, this is pre-NIL and pre-transfer portal. Those are a lot of advantages for Sark in recruiting. Not that Sark is not a great recruiter. He's amazing. But Mac didn't have them advantages. And Mac still, and Sark will never do this because nobody will ever do it. He essentially monopolized the best talent in the state of Texas. It was all his, and everybody else got the leftovers for a few years. Nobody will ever do that again. Recruiting has changed too much. So, I agree with you guys. Mac was one of the greatest natural recruiters in college football history. That may be something that he have on Sark, but it ain't much, guys. Sark is he's checking all the boxes. Ain't no doubt about that. All right, let's thank our friends over at Rogue Shop one more time before we move on and answer a few more questions. Thank you guys for all your participation. Thank you to Rogue Shop as well for being sponsors here of On Texas Football and being a sponsor of our Sunday night live stream, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. Remember to use that discount code. You see it right there on the screen, On Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at RogueShop.com. They have it all, folks, from oils and creams to flour, gummies, and vitamins, and they ship nationwide, no matter where you are in this great country of ours. Our friends at RogueShop.com can get their fabulous products to you. And actually, no matter what you're dealing with, I actually had a friend, a member of the On Texas Football family and a friend tell me that they were suffering from some sleep issues and sleep deprivation. They couldn't get a good night's sleep. And then they tried a couple of items over at Rogue Shop. Turns out, boom, now they're sleeping like a baby. And now they swear by the items at RogueShop.com. So maybe they can do the same for you. Check them out, RogueShop.com. Use that discount code On Texas, and you'll get a special discount from our special friends at RogueShop.com. Very appreciative of them for being a part of the On Texas Football family and sponsoring our Sunday night live stream. All right, let's get back to the questions here, guys. Someone says, Paul says Matthew Golden just accepted his draft invite. Oh, good for him. I want to say they actually decreased the number of invitees to the draft. And this was in Green Bay, if I'm not mistaken, because they don't like the negative story about somebody sitting around in the draft room and they're dropping in the draft and then how sad they look. So they decreased the number of draft invites. So good for Matthew Golden. That means his agent must have told him, "Hey man, you got a good chance you're gonna go, top 15, first round, somewhere around there. Forgive for Matthew Golden. The knock on Matthew Golden now, guys, because remember the first knock was he ran so well at the combine 4.29 that he didn't play that fast. That was actually one of the knocks on him. But he doesn't run routes that fast. He's fast, but I don't think he's 4.29 fast. It's actually like a conspiracy theory now. A lot of draft analysts believe like there's something malfunctioned with the time. Like, I'm not making that up, guys. I will send you the cuts. It's crazy. That's how unbelievable apparently his 4.29 was. But now the latest knock is, because that is a very nonsensical critique of his game. The latest is, well, he's a 4-game player. He basically made most of his production did come in like a 4-game stretch. Like most of his production, like it really did. Like came at the end of the season. Yeah, I remember that run he went on at the end of the season, and he was like the best. He was like the best receiver in college football. He increased his draft stock more than any player increased their draft stock at any position in probably the last 5 to 6 weeks of the season. Some people are saying, man, he's a player that basically went on a run for like a month. And now that is the big knock on him, that we don't have enough of a sample size. Look at his years at U of H. Look at, early on, first half of the season at Texas. He was never the number 1 wide receiver. Didn't become the number 1 guy to like the last month, 6 weeks of the season. I don't believe that. I'm just telling you that's the latest knock on him. But
what's the knock on Kelvin Banks these days?
That's a good one, man.
Let's just turn that all around, because he was there the whole time, yet he's sliding on draft boards, apparently.
That is a good point. That's a good point. Victor Santiago wants to know, why is Kelvin Banks dropping in the latest NFL mock drafts?
Yeah, I think what I'm saying, though, Rod, and this is, people will form a worldview and then argue that worldview to fit their needs. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. I don't think Matthew Golden should go top 15. So I think it was, let's find reasons to justify my viewpoint. I don't think Kelvin Banks should be a top 15 pick. So let's find reasons to justify my view. Instead of just saying he's not that good, they have to try to justify, well, his reach isn't long enough. Well, it happens to be longer than the tackle that you have ranked ahead of him. Well, he only performed well in the last 4 games. He was learning a new system too. The first half of the season. And he had set out most of spring practice prior to that at Texas.
Yep. Well, is there also something to this from early recruiting rankings for prospects? Kelvin Banks was seen early on as a top 5 pick, right? Early in all these mocks, him and Will Campbell both, whether who was 1, who was 2, these guys have been up there so long. Did you see Amon Mimbu at all? The kid from Missouri at all? No. And so there's a little bit of that too, is that, they build you up and they built you up so high that then they're like, oh, he's maybe not as perfect of a player. And, then somebody else pops up, and there's a part of that too. And it happens starting in high school recruiting rankings, and it happens in the NFL draft too. Look at the early mock drafts. If you look at a mock draft now for next season, I bet only 30 to 40% of those guys end up staying first round in the mocks after the season.
I agree with that.
The draft. It's a low percentage of those guys that actually remain.
Yeah. No, you're right about that. And a lot of guys, there's a lot of movement in mock drafts throughout the season. There's no doubt about that.
Can I say this real quick? So I'm looking at the latest. This one's from a guy named Pro Football Network. They've got Jahdae Barron going 11, Matthew Golden 12, Kelvin Banks 13.
Damn, right? But that
3 Longhorns in a row.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
I would love to know what's the last time 3 players from the same school were drafted right behind one another in the draft at any point in the draft.
I guess Alabama, Georgia, or Miami.
Oh, yeah. That's a good
guess. Those would be my 3 guesses.
That's a good guess there, Bobby. You're right about that one.
Yeah.
How about this? Oh, actually, this kind of relates to that question. Kyle says, what is Arch Simmons go 1 and 2 in a draft? Have teammates going 1 and 2 before? They have, because remember, I'm a Texans fan. So the Texans we were looking this up. I want to say when Will Anderson and Bryce Young came out. This was actually a conversation. And turns out it was Michigan State did it in 1967. It's like Bubba Smith and Clinton. Bubba Smith was a D tackle, went number 1. Clinton Jones was a running back, went number 2. And then it also happened in Nebraska. Irving Fryer went number 1 in 84. And then an old tackle, Dean Steinkooler.
Oh, Steinkooler.
Steinkooler.
He ran the fumble Ruski for a touchdown.
Oh, he went to the Oilers too. He went to the Oilers.
Yeah.
Lovely blue guy. Okay, nice. I should know that. And then Penn State did in 2000. Courtney Brown, defensive end, and then LeVar Arrington.
Yeah, oh boy.
And linebacker. So I think those are the 3 times it's happened. So it could happen, and we shall see. But
it's going to be hard in that draft. If you go 1-2 in that, because of what we talked about earlier, if you go 1-2 in the 27 draft, you are dude, man, because that draft is loaded.
It's gonna be crazy. I'm with Bobby. If I'm a smart GM and I can't afford to do it without risking my job, I'm trying to position myself for that draft a little bit, get some extra draft capital. How about this one from Joseph? Says, Rod, what do you think makes Aquino such a great developer of talent, technique, the mental aspect of playing DB? Just curious on your thoughts. He's put so many in the NFL. Glad he's back in Texas. Thank you, Joseph. I'm also glad he's back in Texas. And I talked to Bobby about this, actually. He just teaches the game conceptually. And honestly, to start even before the football, he's a great teacher. Like he actually is a really good teacher, period. I think that's part of being a good coach. You got to know how to teach. And what do you remember about your best teachers, Curtis? Right? They all knew how to present the material, whatever it was, in a way that would be palatable for the students, right? And every student's a little bit different, how they learn, what motivates them, what inspires them. And that's what Coach Aquino's really good at. I was actually talking to Adrian Phillips about this, and Adrian Phillips said, one thing that bothered him when he was in the DD meeting room with Coach Aquino, and I observed this, by the way, he said he treated him so much differently than some of the other DBs. He was talking about, I think Carrington bind him at the time. And he was like, he would treat me differently. Like he'd be dogging me. I'd make the same mistake, say my eyes weren't disciplined somewhere, and Coach Aquino would come on and just dog him. I mean, just getting on him. And he would go over to, another player, Carrington bind him in that same vein. He would be really nice to him. Like, it's okay. Yeah, everybody makes mistakes. You got to make sure you keep your eyes discipline. It's okay. Get back at that. And it'd be very encouraging, and just kind of with some kid gloves, if you will. And then Adrian Phillips said he didn't ask Coach Aquino about it until after they were already done. He said when he came back, when he asked, he said, "Coach, why'd you treat me so differently than you treated some of the other players?" He's like, "Because that's what you needed. You needed that. The other guy needed me to have kid gloves, because if I got on him like I got on you, then it would have just broke his confidence. He'd have never been the same player. You had too much of that dog in you. I needed to get on you like that, because you would use that. You internalized it, and you were mad at me, but you took it out in the field. That was a big and he knew that. And I come to think of it, I think he treated me with kid gloves. I think now, because I never got dog cussed by Coach Aquino. So maybe I was one of the ones who's like, I gotta be careful with Rod B. He's a little fragile. But I think he knows that. He knows as a player what motivates you and what style of teaching would be most successful with you. And so he doesn't treat all the guys the same. And that's, some coaches, they do. I remember Charles saying, no, everybody gets treated the same in my room. Everybody. 4th-string guy gets treated like the 1st-string guy. And that's part of what makes his room unique. Coach Aquino's got another philosophy. No, I don't treat everybody differently. You'll get what you need to be the best player you can be. That's my job, to bring out the best in you.
The one thing I would add to this, and I certainly don't have the firsthand experience like Rod does, but the thing that I would add is that Rod mentioned like how one guy takes and treats his room can be completely different than how somebody else does. I think it's important for the coach to know what's best for him to do.
That's true.
Which one is truest to him, right? Some people, they couldn't do it like Coach Aquino does, and they need to do it a different way, and it's best for them that way. And so I think knowing yourself is part of that answer.
It's a good point.
But he's a really good communicator, just from a concept standpoint, from everybody I talk to. And I think that he expects that of his players a little bit. He expects them to know the defense and the coverages. And so not that other secondary coaches don't. I'm not saying that, but he has high expectations.
Yep.
I'll put it this way.
And teaching the game conceptually, so you can learn other positions too.
Yeah.
So the way you learn it from him. You don't just learn one position in strict. Like you learn what everybody else is doing within the defense, and it does help you grasp the defense better overall. Thanks, Joseph. That's a good question. Appreciate it. All right, a couple more questions. I know we're getting close to the end of our live stream here. Oh, how about this one from Leo? Leo wants to know, has a baseball and a softball team won the Natty in the same athletic season from the same school?
Ooh, man. Let me see if I can find that.
It would be OU when they won their one national baseball championship, Jerry. That's all you would need to look at. Maybe UCLA. They used to be really good in softball, and they've had a baseball team or two through the years. I have never heard of one. Texas obviously haven't because they haven't won a Natty in
my instant response is 0 from a search.
Oh,
okay. If it's possible, look up OU won a national championship in baseball. Like, what? Am I wrong about that? I can't remember.
Don't have me lie for you. I don't keep up.
Anyways, sorry, we don't have it, Leo, right off the top of our head.
I think it's 0. Never been done.
We'll get it. Yeah. See, there you go. It's got to be rare. It definitely ain't been done a lot. So I'm with Jerry on that one. I don't know if we've ever seen that. Thank you, Leo.
There's a question I want to answer.
Go ahead.
Jackson Miles. How do staffs get better at evaluating talent in recruiting? I'm going to give the simple answer nowadays for me. The more players you get on campus, the earlier you get them on campus. These guys know who can play, based off the huddle tapes and games they watch and the in-persons. They know who can play. Where I think you really get better in evaluation is the more guys you get on campus, the more definitive decisions you can make on who you really want to go after. Because you feel comfortable. Say you get the top 8 defensive linemen on your board on campus a couple times. You sit down with them and their family. They sit down with you and your staff. You get the measurables on these guys, which now the Under Armour camps and those sort of things, you can get those more so than you could 15 years ago, right? Then Nike camps, now Under Armour camps. But to me, it's about the more guys you get on campus, the better you have a much better feel for who are the right fits and who aren't. And I think that there's never been more important than now because there's these guys, if you have 8 defensive linemen and you have them all in this same talent kind of bubble here and you're looking at them, what's the differentiator? The differentiator is once you meet those kids face to face and their families multiple times, are those guys you're going to roll with? Are those people you're going to roll with? I think I say this all the time. People always say, well, look at all the 5 stars Nick Saban turned down. Think about a sign. Think about how many he turned down.
Yeah.
He turned down a lot, and a lot that signed at A&M in 2022 and ended up elsewhere, by the way.
That's a good point. I like that. Yeah. Like Jeff Banks always said, we're looking for the signs. No, there you go. Thank you, Matthew. No school has ever won both the baseball and softball national championships in the same year. All right, there you go. So something Texas could do, historic potentially, if Texas could end up pulling that off. Yeah, a lot of Texas baseball fans feeling real good about the start of the Schloss era. All right, thank you, guys. Thank you, Matthew, behind the scenes. Matthew's a real MVP, folks. We appreciate all of his efforts. Thank you, guys, for all the super chats. Very kind of you for the super chats. Thank you, guys, for your participation, all the questions and the comments. If we missed any question, I apologize for that. We couldn't get to all of them, running out of time. Please direct them to the guys at Coffee and Football tomorrow, 8:15. bright and early. And you got the winning drive tomorrow around 3:15. So you can throw those questions to myself, Coach Shipley, and CJ Vogel will be around for that. But Bobby and Jerry will got you taken care of with coffee and football tomorrow at 8:15. Thank you as well, Shane. Appreciate you guys. Thank you to all of our sponsors as well, to our sponsor, not all of them, Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. Use the discount code, all right, OTF, and you'll get a very special discount from our friends over at rogueshop.com. All right, thank you to Jerry. Thank you to Bobby. For Matthew, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.
Thanks, Rod. Hook